Hello, you lovely people. Niho here from Niho Models and Art. And as I said in the last video, I finished priming our Panther. Nice and even black coat on the model. And in this video, we are going to apply the first layer of the base color. I decided to go with dark yellow. Should be historically accurate from Vallejo. And I've noticed that dark yellow is correct, but it's a bit too dark. You want a look like the sun bleached some parts of the tank. So we're going to mix in some buff from Vallejo. And we also have our thinner medium to thin the paint down. I've already shaken these off camera. So I'm going to do a ratio about 3 parts dark yellow to 1 part buff, and then I dilute that about 20 to 25% with the medium thinner. So let's get a nice amount of dark yellow. Then, and you totally have to eyeball this, or I do that. We go in with about 1 part buff. If this gets too light or too dark, you can always correct it when you're applying the second and third layer. So now let's mix this and see the outcome. I use old toothpicks. You could, of course, also use your brush, but I think it's better to use a toothpick so the brush doesn't get soaked in the color too much. Let's see. That looks about right, maybe a little bit more of dark yellow. This should be enough. And then I'm going to add in the thinner. This might be enough for 2 layers on the tank. Seems about right. Good, one last time. Mix it, mix it, mix it. Yeah, that's starting to look good. Just for a couple more seconds to incorporate all the colors and the thinner well. And now we're going to go to paint the first layer. I said painting is my favorite part, and contrary to what I was expecting, painting can be, except for details, can be really fast because you're applying layers and you don't really need thick layers because you can do it over and over and over again. So just to demonstrate how a first layer would look like, get some color. And don't worry if this color doesn't cover the model perfectly. You see a lot of the black is still shining through, but that's no problem because that's, like I said, just the first layer. Let's get the side of the turret as well, and all in the little nooks and crannies. Turn it around. Oh, that was a bit too much color. Yeah, as you see, I took way too much color, but that's no problem. You just spread it over a bigger area. Some people will tell you after you went over the model with your brush, don't go over it again until it's dry. I don't agree with that because I think the more even you spread the color, the better the results will be. And if you really got like too much color on some parts, you just go over the part that you already painted. As long as you let the layer dry properly afterwards, it won't be a problem. But what you do want is to get rid of these big streaks because they will remain if you don't do it properly. And when paint accumulates in some areas, you also want to avoid that. So I'm going to finish this first layer and then I will continue the video. So I finished the first layer and as you can see, it doesn't look good. There are still a lot of black spots, the paint job seems really irregular, but that's okay because you're going to apply at least, I would say, 3, sometimes maybe 4 layers when you're using a dark primer and a rather light color. So just leave that to dry for at least, I would say, an hour. Some people or sources will tell you you can keep painting after like 30 minutes, but I don't do that, so wait another hour till this is dry. As you can see, I left out the machine gun. That's because there's no dark yellow on it, just some gunmetal and some brown. And now we're off to the body, to the hull. And I'm also going to show you a bit of the beginning of the hull. So you take a nice amount of paint. Sometimes I just dab it on and then spread it over the model. Because like I said, you can go over the paint quite a few times, even if it's not completely dried. But when you're still with the first layer, and you can just spread the paint evenly, so you don't accumulate any paint in some recesses of the tank. And it would also be a waste not to spread it, because then some parts will get like really colorful at first, and yeah, that leads to an uneven paint job. So like really get messy here and spread it evenly. You can always drag some of the paint, like I do here, to the forward compartment of the tank. And that's how the first layer will look on the hull. So I'm going to continue to finish this, and then I'll see you again when the hull is complete. So now we've finished the hull, and as you can see as well, really streaky, no good coverage. But like I said, don't get discouraged by that. You're going to put more layers over it. Like I said before, about an hour to dry, and then I'll show you the second layer and the third layer and how the color, the coverage of the paint changes. So we are back, and despite the fact that I said I will show you the second, the third and the next layer, I thought that would be a bit boring. So I'm just going to show you the finished product. For reference, this is after 4 layers of color. It's still not completely perfect, but I'm always worried that some details, some recesses will be filled with too much color, so that we can't really work on them later. But as you can see, it's got a nice coverage of the mixture of dark yellow and buff. So not too dark, not too bright. What you can notice here on the hull is that I painted over some of the details, some of the accessories that will have different colors in the end. Now I know for historical accuracy, sometimes these details, these accessories were also painted in the camouflage or the base camo of the tank. For my part, I mostly paint them in different colors just to make the model pop a little bit more, and that I can do some variation when I'm weathering later. Because if you do everything just in one color when it comes to details, the tank can seem to be a bit too uniform. So keep that in mind, but it's your model, you do whatever you want. This will be it for this video, for painting the base color. The next video will be the camouflage pattern I put on, and also when I paint the details and some tips on how you can do it and what you can use as reference, so you know which color would be historically accurate and which won't be or is not that accurate. But after all, like I said, it's your model. If you want to paint this one in pink or bright green, go ahead. It's your hobby. Do whatever you want. Okay, thanks for watching and see you next time. Bye-bye.